The only reason I'd subject myself to this is because Ruth promised me I could hold hands with Dr. Hora. The title of the paper has been changed, and I'm offering you the new title in the fervent hope that it's not a contradiction in terms. It's titled Spiritual Maturity in Marriage. The subject of our conference is spiritual maturity, our common goal. In whatever life situation we find ourselves, the task is to come to know and manifest our true being. The particular situation provides the lessons we need to learn to grow into our maturity. Many students of metapsychiatry are in the position of living with a spouse who is not interested in spiritual study. It is safe to say that as a part of the process of growth towards spiritual maturity, each of us must learn to see beyond all the ideas of interpersonal living which prevail in the world. One of the most compelling of these is that it is important that we share personal values, ideas, activities, and interests with our spouse. We have been taught to believe that it is vital to the relationship that we have much in common. We find comfort and validation in sharing. Somehow, our ideas and values are better and truer if we agree. Whether we are married or not, we live in the world among other individuals as co-workers or friends or family members, and most of these other individuals are not spiritual students. We must not let this situation become a block to our growth, nor must we fall into the error of thinking that it would be different if only we weren't married, single, didn't have children, had a better job, no job. These are all false issues. The idea of one hand clapping can give us a tool to use to successfully negotiate through these potentially troublesome situations and learn what we need to know in the process to help us on the way to spiritual maturity and to enlightenment. Recently, in a class discussion on interpersonalism, Dr. Hora stated that in situations with others who are not interested, we must seek to hear the sound of one hand clapping. This is to say that in an encounter between a spiritually mature individual and one who is immature, there will be nothing with which the immature one can interact. As spiritual students, we work toward being nobodies, providing nothing with which others can interact. One hand finds no other hand with which to make noise. There is only a conscious awareness of God in place of the other hand. During this discussion, the question was asked, what happens in a marriage situation when one partner is studying spiritual principles and is interested in becoming spiritually mature, and the other partner is not interested at all? Dr. Hora replied, that is a difficult situation. We knew that already. But sometimes it works. It is called the sound of one hand. When there is the sound of two hands, there is a collision of personal wants. When one party is in connection with God, then the other individual's discordant responses do not find anything to latch on to. There is still harmony, but not complete. There is the sound of one hand, and one hand cannot make a sound. There is just silence. Here we might say that the situation reflecting complete harmony had been discussed earlier. It is no hands clapping at all, just two individual consciousness going for God. Many students of metapsychiatry ask this question, he continued. They see themselves getting more and more connected with God and becoming more spiritually minded, whereas their spouses have other interests. The question is this situation viable? The answer is yes, it is viable if the student is alert and quickly develops the faculty of compassion. Compassion makes it possible for anyone to live in harmony with others who are not on the spiritual path. Compassion is the secret strength of the spiritually mature individual. In the mixed marriage situation, there are some common mistakes we easily fall into unless we are very alert, which then manifest themselves in two hands furiously clapping in spite of our best intentions. These are indications of an immature level of awareness which needs to be seen and corrected. The first very seductive idea is feeling superior to others due to our interest in spiritual study. It is very easy, no matter what one's activity is, whether spiritual study or bowling, to perceive the world in terms of us who does it and them who doesn't. This is particularly dangerous to spiritual students since it constitutes an effective barrier to expanding consciousness. It is a narrowing rather than an expanding thought. If I think I, as a, quote, spiritual student, am better than someone who is not a spiritual student, I am stuck in my narrow self and other context, and it feels so good. It is such a delicious pleasure feeling superior. What I must see if I am to move beyond this idea is that, as Dr. Hora has explained, we are all living souls at different levels of development through no credit to us or fault. The lawfulness and love that are reality guarantee that awareness will expand for each one of us. Where and when and how this expansion happens are not known to me, whether it is the awareness taking place here or over there. As soon as I know this is true, I can only be grateful that the time has come when I am capable of seeing beyond appearances if I am interested. I can also be assured that the time will come for all. If this assurance is present in my consciousness, it can flow into encounters and remove all personal sense. There are not two people here acting upon each other. There is only awareness here, awareness of what really is, or lack of awareness. A second immature idea is that the other individual is our source of well-being and good, our security. This leads to the notion that we need to control the other. We cherish ideas of how he or she should be. We know what we want and don't want from or of them. This whole body of thought leads to the further idea that another's life is our business. We believe that since we share our lives and we have a relationship, we have the right to interfere in countless ways in the other's life. Relationships inevitably become power struggles as each self tries to get what he or she thinks she needs from the others around. There are various areas of life experience which become hotbeds for these power struggles. They're very familiar: sex, money, child-rearing, jobs, possessions. Recently, in a class discussion about power struggles, a story was told about one woman, a student of metapsychiatry, who had had continuing problems with her husband over their mutual sexual experiences. I'm sure no one will know what I'm talking about here. Over the years, sex had become the arena for their struggles. There was always argument about what to do, how to do it, how often it should be done. The whole gamut of problems one hears in counseling with respect to a couple's sex life. When she consulted a very wise psychiatrist about these problems, she was told that contrary to popular belief, sex is not interaction. It is not one person doing something to another person. Rather, sex is omniactive mind expressing itself as love. She was told that she needed to seek to see sex as an expression of love and herself and her husband as manifestations of love. This counseling and a changed viewpoint resulted in a very beautiful and loving sexual expression between herself and her husband, whereupon her husband totally lost interest in sex with her. Where previously he had complained long and bitterly, according to this woman, about the infrequency of sex, he no longer seemed interested at all. When the woman mentioned this puzzling development to the psychiatrist, she was told that her husband, and of course herself, had not been interested in love, but in power. When love was the focus, he was not interested. When love was the focus, even of only one of the individuals, there was no interaction. There was only the sound of one hand clapping as one individual pursued an invalid interest and the other was focused on love. She found herself totally lifted out of the previously conflict-filled situation by this change of perspective. As long as power is the focus or any other invalid concern, there will be two hands clapping. If this patient can come to understand this, the power struggle will not reoccur. I have to mention that we had some speculation as to whether the woman had not been lifted farther out than she had in mind. Which The idea that relationships are a reality of some sort and are necessary for security and well-being limits our awareness and keeps us at an immature level. Concern with relationships is an altogether false concern. In the course of our life experiences, it is taught that relationships are the center of our lives. In graduate school, as training therapists, we learn how to relate. At least we tried to learn. One of the most popular phrases at that time was, "I can relate to that." It was never clear exactly what relating was, but it required very close attention to the other and to oneself. The relationship between us was an entity, something that could be worked on. We worked on it by watching ourselves and their selves and talking about ourselves and their selves and feeling ourselves and watching others feel their selves. Life was our interactions, our relating, and how fascinating it was. After a while, however, it was difficult not to notice that nothing really ever changed as a result of this orgy of relating. When I saw this sentence again, that nothing changed, it's not quite true. I remember a marriage group we had. There were 6 married couples were invited for 10 weeks to participate in a group to learn how to relate and communicate. And something did change because at the end of the 10 weeks, 4 out of the 6 couples were divorcing. So recently, in a seminar that was presented at the School of Metapsychiatry, it was made clear just how muddling and problematic an interaction focus can be. This is a tape called Interaction and Omniaction. If anyone wants to listen to it, it's really very interesting. It shows up very clearly the mistake of some of the mistakes we make. We struggled with questions and tried to understand what we were talking about until Dr. Hora pointed out that we were immersed in interaction thinking. We were seeing everything in terms of self and other and could never see clearly from that perspective. The whole point of view is invalid and will never lead to anything but confusion and frustration. At that time, Dr. Hora warned that we must be very wary of sinking into interaction thinking because we could drown there, he said. Seeing oneself in the context of marriage or any other so-called relationship and seeing life from this perspective will never produce good. The good of God cannot be seen from there. In metapsychiatry, we learn how to unrelate, or better, to transrelate, to go beyond the appearances of relationships, the intense interest in self and others. We expand our view to issues and values and needs and inspired ideas and qualities. We seek to see life in the context of love intelligence rather than self and other. We seek to know that life is not a series of interactions, some good and some bad. Rather, it is omniaction. As Anne Lindhorst has said, omniaction means that what is really going on everywhere, all the time, is the activity of perfect life, the unfoldment of God's reality. Life is spiritual, and participating in life is developing spiritual qualities in consciousness. Dr. Hora said, "We call joint participation in the good of God living by the soundless music of life, which brings harmony into our living together side by side rather than using each other for ourselves. The solution to the difficulties that seem to appear is compassion and forgiveness and transcendence always. As you are practicing it in life, you will find less and less energy is consumed by interpersonal friction and maintaining relationships. Then it is understood that all that is ever needed in dealing with others in our lives is to, quote, bless them and let them be. This becomes a prayer and a meditation for those interested in the silence that is the sound of one hand clapping. Bless them and let them be." Thank you.
Come back. Now you're going to have to answer. How to answer?
Is there a spiritually valid way of being in the world of Valentine's Day celebrations, but not of it?
Can I drop that over here?
No,
Oh, thank you.
Valentine's Day celebration. What does Valentine's Day represent?
Interaction.
Interaction. Well, then I guess no.
But is there
I'll never speak to you again if you continue this line of questioning. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Maybe Rick could try and be a sweetheart tomorrow or the next day.
There is a seriousness in the question.
Okay.
Is there a way to somehow join in cultural celebrations that do celebrate values less than the spiritual values without being part of that? Christmas, Thanksgiving, Valentine's Day, and so on.
I've never considered it. My level of Valentine's Day is helping a 5-year-old fill out her nursery school Valentine's. But it seems to me that, as with anything, any of those celebrations, that the answer must be to participate with little interest and as much love as possible.
Well, Joan has actually answered it in her paper when she presented the case of the difficulties with sex, that it can be a joint participation and an expression of love that can be applied to Valentine's Day and any activities of the human level, as long as they are expressions of love. There is certainly a place for human affection, which is the shadow of the true substance of spiritual love.
I think what I meant by as much love as possible, it becomes a temptation to some to say to themselves, this isn't spiritually valid, and to reject whatever it is, much to the dismay of the others in the family or whatever. And so I think it's possible to see beyond and yet participate in a loving way in Valentine's Day or Christmas or...
Mm-hmm.
Yes, there's another question there.
It was such a peaceful silence.
Yes.
I remember some early experience with a very interactive family. They had 4 children and many of the children's friends there. And whenever there became a conflict of wills, the mother in this situation, it would come to her consciousness to offer people tea. And in the process of offering tea and asking you whether you wanted sugar or cream, she would disrupt the interaction, and by the time you got your tea, everything was loving again.
That's an operational solution.
I wonder if a little more could be said about the problem of a sense of superiority. It seemed to me yesterday there was some discussion about our idea of spiritual maturity being one, if it's an idea that's something we achieve versus something that we become aware of, that was relevant to that problem. But if that the idea of the problem of thinking we're superior because we've been exposed to these ideas and we're on the spiritual path.
You can be only superior in nothingness.
It's like the janitor.
Well, the whole issue is a non-issue once you really understand what
what it is. Spiritual maturity is not a personal achievement. It is not inherited from your aristocratic ancestors, Scotland. It's the grace of God, and we can only know gratitude.
Turn it up a little.
Coming back to the Valentine issue, there's a lot of praising our loved ones. You are so wonderful. I'm sending you this chocolate heart because you are this and you are that, and admirable and good and this. Well, what happens when we give personal compliments? We don't realize that we are entering into judgmentalism. We are judging people positively. And the idea is that that's not bad. Because whatever feels good, how could it be bad? Right? Wrong. When the Bible says, judge not, that ye be not judged, that doesn't mean only negative judgment. It's also positive judgment. So, what is the metapsychiatric way of expressing some positive feelings towards others? Anybody? Charles, you are lifting your hand? Yes, that's right. We can say, I'm very grateful for your quality, the qualities which you manifest. And they can be such and such and such. But we do not give personal compliments because it's like feeding poison to somebody. Because by complimenting people according to positive evaluations, we are inflating their egos and setting them up for a fall. So, if you get a bouquet of flowers from your spouse, be careful. Could be you're being set up for something. So let us remember that positive judgment is also judgment. And it is not beneficial. There's a lot of it around Valentine's Day. It's in a very naive fashion.
Joan, I wonder if you or any of you would clarify perhaps a little more the concept of resistance that I heard you describe about the student in terms of her sexual relationship with her husband. It sounded as though when you made the comment about whether or not she was anticipating that much of a healing, whether she really wanted that much of a healing. And yet I think that there is, at least in myself, a resistance to the goodness of what can be, and you don't really want what is, but there's a somewhere in between. I don't know if that's clear. And would you describe resistance? Talk about resistance.
I was thinking in that particular description in the paper, it really was just a joke.
But is it a joke in life?
Yeah, no. And then I was considering what you were saying, but as far as the paper goes, that was really just that situation. So there's nothing more to say about that, I don't think. Maybe next year. And I'd rather that maybe someone else spoke about resistance. The only thing that I might say is in my own experience, I think everyone can come to recognize their own ways of resisting. You know, we're endlessly crafty about it, but if you, when I notice a disturbance, if I'm not immediately interested in that disturbance in consciousness, then whatever I am interested in, I would say would be my own resistance then, whether it's sleeping or cooking or whatever it is.
Let me just add a comment about resistance. and described that statement by the famous writer, what was his name, the Christian, C.S. Lewis, that he's being dragged into heaven, kicking and screaming. That's resistance. What is that what is resisting in us? It is our preconceived ideas, which we have not completely given up. For instance, a woman may say, well, if my husband is not interested in me sexually, that I am in great danger of losing him. Or maybe I love sex and I'm going to miss it, right? So who wants to be so spiritual? So this is resistance, because here we are parting with something that is pleasurable pain and glorious wretchedness. And we are moving in a direction which is totally mysterious and unknown. So that's probably what resistance is all about.
It just occurred to me as Dr. Hora was speaking that it's important to remember, I think, that resistance is always a particular idea. If we stop with recognizing resistance, then we're liable to get on the should and shouldn't level. Gee, I shouldn't be resistant. Gee, I should want this. But the resistance itself is always a particular belief or value or preconceived idea. And if we can move on and say now, I'm equipped, all of us are equipped to deal with any issue. What is the meaning of the fact that I'm not rejoicing or healed or grateful or whatever? Then perhaps the meaning, the particular thing, belief or a value we're attached to can reveal itself. And then we may still discover that we are still attached to that, but at least then we know what we're dealing with, and it's not just a general label called resistance.
Dr. Hora, back to the subject of giving the gift of compliments as being poison. What does that mean in terms of material gift? Is that an invalid metapsychiatric thing to do, such as a Christmas present or a birthday present? A gift of love in a material sense sounds as bad as a gift of a compliment.
You want to answer?
I was thinking about the PAGL Foundation.
What is a gift? It is a thought, right? Depends on the quality of thought which is behind it, makes it valid or invalid, Sam.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to keep giving those gifts. Metapsychiatry doesn't relieve you.
Thank you.
Dale? Sarah has a question.
Can you stand up so people can see? Yeah, just talk into it. Can you stand up? People can see.
I would like to have more clarification on resistance about I feel the pushes from the commercial to give present or celebrate something when it's Christmas, going back again, or any other celebration. Is the resistance in me because I am controlled when to do things, and so I can't control? I think it's goes either I control or somebody else controls me? Is it the resistance in me? Yeah, giving present when everybody else does it. And I have this resistance until the day comes and I said, oh, I have this feeling everybody gives things, so I give it. But it's still, I don't feel it's a true give.
That is called reluctant conformism. She doesn't understand.
I wanted to self-conform myself, but I don't understand.
We'll explain it later to you. Okay?
I was interested in what the meaning is to this desire to judge, the interest in judgment, being judged either positively or negatively, what the meaning of this is.
Did you say the meaning in being judged?
No, the meaning in our interest in judgment, either being judged positively or negatively, or judging positively or negatively. Is there a general meaning to the interest in judgment?
Well, it's a way of making yourself feel good, either good or bad, or feel better than, or it's a way of, it's a self-confirming kind of an attitude, isn't it?
Here come the judge.
Is that it, to confirm the self?
Well, the focus in the meaning is that the focus is interpersonal.
Right. And that's rewarding? What's the value in that?
There's no value in it.
What's the
judging
reward?
Judging and not judging is one of the sources of suffering, as you may recall in the paper Dr. Hora presented some years ago.
But why then do we have such an interest in it?
You're talking about what does the self get out of it, aren't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
You see, the difficulty when a student of metapsychiatry is sorely tempted to ask a why questions, but doesn't dare to do so, and tries to gloss it over. Well, what you see, metapsychiatry requires radical sincerity. And the why question is a no-no. It's a human proclivity to judge. And we have to rise above it. Now, how can one be healed of the proclivity to judge, right? This would be a good question. Would you like to ask this? Go ahead, ask this question.
How does one transcend the desire to judge?
One can get healed of the desire to judge by learning to bless. How do we bless? Beg your pardon?
Forgive.
Forgive? No, there's nothing to forgive. No. There's a what is a blessing? Yes. A blessing is, right, acknowledging the truth about someone. And the truth is that everything and everyone is here for God, period. And when we acknowledge this, either silently or verbally, then we are healed of the proclivity to judge.
We'll take a break at this point. We'll take a break.
Lunch break.
A luncheon break, and